girls, grab your beers.
Hey everybody, this is Charlie from Anthrax, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now here's your host.
I am Monty Heath, so one Heath, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
Hey, what's up? It's John from Skillet, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle on Domain Cleveland Radio.
Fasten your seatbelts.
Louder Than Life, September 21st through the 24th in Louisville with Foo Fighters, Green Day, Tool, Avenged Sevenfold, Godsmack, Limp Bizkit, Pantera, Queens of the Stone Age, Weezer, Megadeth, Turnstile, and many more. Get your passes on sale now at louderthanlifefestival.com.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle. And real quick housekeeping note, if you're watching us on YouTube or Rumble or BitChute or Odyssey or even Brighteon, please hit that follow and subscribe button. And if you're listening to us on Apple, Google, any of those Spotify, any of the podcast platforms out there, please hit that subscribe button as well so we can continue to bring you the conversations that I'm about to give you right now. We're talking with Maddox Messer of the band Messer. What's going on?
Oh, just hanging out like loose teeth here in Texas.
Nice. And so usually when I have somebody on for the first time, I like to get a little bit of a background. So do you remember, like, originally what you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, I originally what I wanted to be, I wanted to be a stand-up comedian. That's my earliest remembrance of, like, I remember seeing Howie Mandel back when he used to do what, that whole thing that he did, the kid voice thing. And I remember going, that's what I want to do, is make people laugh. And I haven't done it yet, but, I am working on it. Nice. You're getting the stage presence down, though, in another way, right? I think it was just, the power of being able to, evoke laughter or emotion. I didn't understand. I didn't know that I want, back then when I was a kid, I didn't want to make people cry. But now, as a musician moving forward, that's a high goal of mine, is that if I can, evoke somebody to tears with our music, then, that's like a high compliment. So now I'm going on making people cry.
Exactly. I mean, something that hits the heart, the language of the heart. Sure. And then speaking of music, do you remember, like, around like what age you discovered music, and when, what were some of the first artists that, hooked you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember, as early as like 11, 12 years old, wanting to play the electric guitar. I remember hearing that intro to I think it's For Those About to Rock on AC/DC, and I had to learn that intro. I had to play it, but my dad was really a big influence on me musically. He wasn't a musician per se, but he was a big music fan, and we would go to the Sound Warehouse every week, and I can still smell the smell of cellophane. If I really think about it, because, that's how that store smelled. Kids will never understand what that was really like back then, to walk in to a music store. But from a very early age, my dad was really shoving stuff like Metallica stuff. Van Halen was a big influence. He never just owned like one cassette tape or one record. He would buy the whole catalog. So like as early as I remember, I'd have like access to like all the early Van Halen stuff, all the early Metallica, AC/DC, all the classic stuff, the Led Zeppelins. I had a pretty good diet of all of that.
Nice. And then when was it? I mean, you were mentioning, you know, like how you are influenced by comedy, you wanted to do, you know, stand up, but when was it that, you know, music kind of became like what you wanted to pursue?
Well, you know, in my formative teenage years, I had the shitty garage band. You know, we did Metallica covers. Then I got really heavy influence into some heavier music, like when Slayer and like Cannibal Corpse, and like really, really deep stuff. Sepultura was a big influence on me as a teenager, believe it or not. And then, of course, being from Arlington, Texas, growing up in Arlington, you know, I would see Vinny and Dimebag at the Walmart or the bowling alley, you know what I mean? So Pantera obviously had a huge presence in my life, but I did the new metal rap rock era, you know, early days in the early, what was that, late 90s, early 2000s of like new metal and rap rock. I was in one of those bands with two white guys rapping, you know, I've done all that stuff. But to be honest with you, it was really much later in life that I really wanted to actively just pursue music as a career. And, you know, it was post having a professional career, day job kind of life, you know, the whole suburban house thing. And I just left all that one day just to do this. And so haven't looked back. It's been 16, 17 years I've been pursuing music as a full-time career, and I don't want to change anything about that.
Nice. And then, like, what was the music scene like in your hometown?
I mean, it's incredible. I mean, we come from, you know, the land of Deep Ellum. You know, we have so much history, not just with rock music, but we can go way back to the blues days of like, you know, Blind Lemon and what was the guy, the John Hooker? Was it from Deep Ellum? That was Blind Lemon, that guy, and then the other blues. I can't remember his name, but we have a lot of rich history with blues music. But then you start to get into the 90s, and obviously I mentioned Pantera, but you can't go without mentioning Drowning Pool, CJ. Those guys are also, you know, Dave, rest in peace. Dave is also really good friends of ours. Then you know, the Toadies. I mean, you know, there's so much. Erykah Badu. I mean, the list goes on of what we had here in Dallas to kind of pull from, and I'm very grateful for that, and we're very, very proud of, you know, being from Dallas-Fort Worth. That's you know, everywhere we go, you know, when we mention that, people, you know, automatically go, oh, okay, that's cool, you know.
Yeah, so I was just down that way for a reunion with my old Navy unit. And, of course, me being a music guy, you know, I always try and check out the local venues and see, you know, what they have going on. And I forget the name of like the little kind of like art district down there. But they did one of those like bike boat type rides where everybody sits around like a bar drinking and rides through town or whatever.
Yeah,
we hit all the places.
Those are fun.
Yeah. And I saw, I'm drawing a blank on the name of the one local venue down there, but my friends from Mushroom Head from Cleveland will be coming there in October.
Oh, Trees, probably. You're probably thinking of Trees.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trees. That's in Deep Ellum, and Trees. You're right. That is, you know, that's it's where we cut our teeth. That and another music venue that unfortunately we lost due to gentrification, but there was a great venue called Curtain Club that was down in right across the street from Trees. But yeah, that's anybody who's ever come through Dallas at any, you know, when you're playing clubs, that's where you're playing at is Trees first time through. And my buddy Clint, who owns that place, just an incredible guy who's he's actually kind of credited with bringing back Deep Ellum, because Deep Ellum had gone through a cycle where it got bad and it was like nobody went down there. It was just like you're afraid you're going to get shot and stabbed in the dark alleys, to kind of over gentrification where it is now. You know, good or bad. I have mixed emotions on some of that stuff, because we lost, like I said, some historical venues and music venues for, you know, fancy restaurants and things now. So
yeah, we got the same stuff that happens in areas of Cleveland up here too.
That's everywhere.
So many great venues I used to go to as a kid that are no longer, around. So it's kind of sad. Going through the whole COVID thing didn't help. What's that?
Right. You near the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and
yeah.
There, yeah. Okay, yeah. So, and we visited that thing a couple of times, and there's that little riverfront area that somebody was telling us has recently had undergone all the same kind of renovations and things down there. It was nice and pleasant, but I imagine if you were a local and you saw some of that, you probably had the same kind of mixed emotions about it too.
Yeah, exactly. We had an area called the Flats, by the riverfront down there too.
Yeah, that's the spot. Yeah.
And so you probably were at the Odeon or something like that.
The Odeon's exactly where it was. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's gone now.
Yeah,
and
I know.
We used to have Peabody's down there, and we've lost Peabody's a few years ago now, but. Yeah, man, it's tough. So, and then if you want to go see shows, it's either under the big Live Nation or AEG umbrellas. It's hard to get into
corporate umbrellas.
options for the local artists coming up, independent artists. But so how did Messer come together? And
well, I mean, that's a lot of a series of a lot of serendipitous events is what happened. That's how I know that we're all meant to be doing this. But our drummer Kenny, he's actually from Canada. He's from Ottawa, and he literally broke down in Dallas, ran out of gas in his car back in 1990 something or another, and just kind of stayed here and never left. And he had played in another pretty well-known regional band called Strangleweed, and they were, typical party and southern rock band. It was just always a good time, and of course, Derek, he had been in a band called July Alley, and they actually got signed by Sony back in 98, 99 by Nick Terzo, same guy who signed Alice in Chains, and July Alley was a very similar sound to Alice in Chains, and Nick left I think it was Columbia, and then he moved to Sony, but whichever one he went to, he left that record label, and hey, you want to come with me? And Derek and his band said, no, we're going to stay here. They've been treating us really well. Well, as soon as Nick Terzo left that label, they shelved him. They said, we already got a Alice in Chains. We don't need another Alice in Chains. You know what I mean? So they essentially shelved his record, and he kind of went down that band kind of broke up and went down another path. But it wasn't until, and I told you later in my life, when I decided I wanted to pursue music full time, that I was just going through the weekly, we call it was like the Dallas Observer. It's like our local rag you pick up at the bar. And I saw, Kenny and at the time, Kenny and Derek and another member, Javier, they were playing with a different bass player at a venue near my town. And I knew Kenny because I was in another band prior to that with another friend of mine who happened to be on the same reality TV show with Kenny. You remember reality TV shows on MTV back in the day? So
yeah. When they started leaving music.
The singer in my band, VH1 and all that stuff. He and Kenny, they were on Daisy of Love together. And so post that show, it was a real popular thing for agents to book guys from reality TV shows to go sit in these vodka lounges, and they'd pay us stupid money to sit behind a rope, and just party. And I had gone to several of these parties and met Kenny, and so I had a relationship. When I saw that they were playing, I went down. One thing led to another, and I was going to actually start playing guitar for them. Nadia actually wasn't even going to do bass. I was going to play guitar, but it was kind of magical, and we just kind of had this kind of brainchild that, hey, we need to do something with this, and we started to play some shows locally, and we were starting to write, and then my best friend Chad Gendison, who's our producer and co-writer, I had showed him what we were doing, and he and I just started hey, let's go for it. Let's put a band together. So when we wanted to come out of the womb fully developed. You know what I mean? Like, so we kind of hid away for like 4 or 5 years in my studio here in Fort Worth, and came up with logos, came up with the songs, the images, what it was going to look like, what it was going to sound like, started just putting it all together, as well as our live show, because our live show is kind of one of the things that we're most notably known for, because we bring a lot of production in a very tiny package and people don't expect it. And then when they see it, they go, oh my gosh, how did you do all of that? Well, we spent 5 years doing it before we ever showed anybody. So a lot of computer programming, automation, like what Nick is doing back here now, because we have new songs and we have to put the new songs in our set. We need to have the lights flashing. So, we're doing all that stuff so that when we bring a Messer show, whether it be in a club, an arena, or a stadium, our show is going to be, as high quality as we could possibly get it. But it took a long time to do all of that. And, we finally got the record done, and the album came out 4/20 of 2019. And we started, landed some tours with like Red and Lacey Sturm, and,
nice.
Toured all through right up until 2020. And then at 2020, we were going to go to Europe and start attacking Europe, and then obviously the pandemic happened, and then that just kind of changed everything for everybody. So and now this is where we are, post-pandemic, trying to get the wheels back in motion again. But touring is, like we mentioned, AEG and Live Nation, they bought up everything or took over everything during the pandemic. A lot of people don't understand how that ticketing thing works, and the Ticketmaster and AEG would offer money to these small clubs up front in the form of advances. Say, here, we'll advance you some money on future ticket sale fees, so that you can book our productions, our shows, our bands that are under the Live Nation or AEG umbrella. And when the pandemic happened, and these small mom and pop venues couldn't no longer pay their monthly fees because they weren't having shows because shows were closed. Well, now AEG owns half of Deep Ellum, Live Nation, all these clubs, all the House of Blues are all owned by Live Nation now. They took them over. And so my buddy Clint was one of those guys. He owned the Bomb Factory, and in addition to Trees. And, it got taken over by AEG, through the pandemic. So,
and they decide who gets to play then, and who
they decide everything, because, the same guy who owns those venues, owns the ticketing, also owns the radio stations and the airwaves, Octane, or Sirius Satellite. It's all owned by the same people. You know what I mean? So it's very hard for independent bands to break through, especially in the rock genre, because, the rock fan, as you and I know it, we're probably about the same age, and there's a big disconnect. There always has been a disconnect between technology and the music listener, and our peer groups. And they're late to coming to streaming. They're late to coming to YouTube. They're late to all these other things that the younger generations are just dominating on. And like the TikToks and I'm not going to be making dances on TikToks. You know what I mean? I ain't doing that either.
I've had people riding me about, follows on my social media for the podcast. And I'm like, I'm trying, I'm doing the best I can, but, hopefully you kind of hope word of mouth or, providing something that people want to, but promoting it and building follows. Like I've had a couple people that I've worked with in the past, like, well, we want to get you this interview, but, you don't have the numbers or whatever,
Yeah.
Luckily, I've already established good relationships with people like Shauna, you know, and she's like, oh, she, get me whoever,
Yeah, she's great. And guys, Ed Bunkner, he's another PR man. I don't know if you ever met.
Yeah, I've worked with Ed too.
Worked with Ed a bunch in the past, and that's how I ended up doing all of these and meeting people like yourself. So I obviously there's some military influence. I'm looking at your screen here. I'm actually playing another group called Operation Rock the Troops, which we actually it's like a charity thing that I do with my buddy Matthew JC, who owns the charity, and we travel to different military bases and perform for our troops. I'm actually leaving Sunday for Ireland to go on this. It's a music therapy excursion where we've raised the money through the charity to take 6 veterans who have issues with PTSD and adjusting, getting back to civilian life still. And we're taking these 6 veterans with us to Ireland. Myself, Zach Malloy from the Nixons, and a few other musicians from the Texas area. And we're going to help these vets songwrite and tell their story over this period of 7 days in this amazing castle in Kilkenny, Ireland, where from day 1, we're going to start the process. And by the 7th day, we're going to be performing at the Set Theatre in Dublin, Ireland, with their songs. And we're the band backing them up, helping them do it all. And it's all being filmed for a Netflix, a future Netflix documentary or a series called Highway Home. And we're doing this one in Ireland. There's one slated for Alaska, one for Hawaii. I don't know how that one's going to go still or not, but but it's something that I like to do to give back. My dad was a Purple Heart veteran, a Vietnam veteran, and was very proud of his service. And this is the way that I like to, honor him, with my music, in that, keep his legacy going, if you will.
Yeah. What was the name of that organization?
Operation Rock the Troops.
Operation Rock the Troops. I do have, veteran interviews I do on here quite a bit. And a lot of them are, veterans that, have started other veteran organizations that I like to help promote. I know for me, like, I wouldn't be doing this right now if it wasn't for a lot of those veterans organizations after my last deployment, and this is still like a form of therapy for me, getting me out of my shell, talking with people. But like originally, it's like when I got home from my last deployment, man, I just, I got sober. And, which I'm grateful for, but it's also like, then I got to start feeling and thinking about, dealing with stuff. So then I just kind of like, isolated for the longest time. And luckily through some of these veterans organizations, I started getting out and getting, working on myself and working through my stuff and getting confidence. And then, I used to be a concert promoter here in Cleveland, years ago. So it's like 2 of the things that I've always loved, and I just kind of, okay, well, I can still use my contacts in the industry and I can start having conversations like we're having now. And talking to you is helping me, and then I like learning more about organizations like that. I'd probably want to do a follow-up episode talking to whoever runs that at some point.
Definitely. You definitely want to talk to Matt. Matt JC is one of my good buddies, but just somebody who's really just dedicated his whole life to this cause. And there's been several incarnations. I mean, ultimately, he's a filmmaker at the end of the day. He's a filmmaker. He's a musician, but he's a filmmaker and a storyteller. And, making movies and documentaries is even more complicated than making music when it comes to how you fund those things. But we've had some very good supporters through the years who've donated some, real money to be able to do real stuff, to really do some real help and real, real work. And I believe, music heals. I mean, that's why I do it. It's music therapy for me. It's been therapy. It's what gets me through my day. It's literally the soundtrack to my life and your life as well. And, the power of music, I understand. Like I said, I love making people cry because of the power of the music. And as a music maker, I understand on a physical level, the power of sound waves and how to manipulate them for good, to evoke goosebumps and those kinds of things. And we've gotten really good at kind of honing that in. And as a performer, it's one of the things that I really love to do more than anything, is to really, connect with the audience or the music listener on that really, emotional level. So it's a powerful thing, man.
It definitely is. And like you were saying, even with the frequencies and everything, getting those right, because sometimes, it can do the opposite. It depends like what you're putting in your head, and especially when I would add a little alcohol to it. And then, I'm sitting there like over a breakup listening to Nine Inch Nails. Things didn't always go good at the bar,
Well, I'm going to tell you a quick story on one of the highlights of probably touring for Operation Rock the Troops was playing 4th of July at Fort Bragg. Have you ever been through Fort Bragg or done any of that stuff? But it's an incredible military base, and it's where all the Army Rangers and all these really badass GI Joe guys are. But we got to play 4th of July. And on the base in front of 50,000 military enlisted and their families. And one of the songs, Operation Rock the Troops, we have original songs that are real, pro-America, pro-military songs, but we also do a lot of cover songs in that because it's just entertaining, for the troops. Playing Drowning Pool's Bodies in front of 50,000 military and stepping into that role, that song, we're talking about powerful. Like that song has such a connection with the military, coming back from Desert Storm and all those, that was like, that's what was the soundtrack of that war. And it was just very powerful, very powerful to see how they reacted when we played that song,
Yeah, for sure. I remember like when I was deployed, we would get, some musicians that would come play our bass, entertain us and stuff like that. Yeah. And I was able to always, stay involved. I mean, my mission over there had nothing to do with entertainment, but I would volunteer for extra stuff. And I got to be like Scott Stapp from Creed security guard when he came through, and he played for us. Everclear played for us. And, I'm friends with Art to this day.
I love Art. We did a show in Virginia with Art just last summer, I believe, West Virginia. And what a great band still, great songs too.
Yeah, and I know how much that means to us over there to get our heads out of, whatever, just to get that taste of home and forget about like, some of the crap we're dealing with over there. And it was like really cool to, like I said, I get a little bit of a relationship with, talking with Scott when he was there. And it's like, I was missing my oldest daughter's birthday at home. And when she was born, like Arms Wide Open came out, and that was like our song. I was just holding her, that was something that connected to me. And I got to share that with him. And he went ahead, he did a video for me singing happy birthday to her, that I got to send home and stuff. So there's if you look on YouTube, there's Scott Stapp singing happy birthday, and he's singing to my daughter, I was missing incredible.
Her. Yeah. They always say, you don't want to ever meet your heroes, but, getting to tour, we spent 2 months, 60 days on tour with Scott and his wife and his family and the band. And, you get to know somebody. It's like it's like you're deployed, you know what I mean? It's kind of like that, you've gone through something with somebody, so you've bonded through that process. And to this day, I still have to go, I got Scott Stapp's phone number right here. I could just call Scott, you know what I mean? That's still kind of a pinching thing that I have to pinch myself because send
him the YouTube video. Say you just talked to the guy today.
I'm going to tell him that because I have actually, we've been chatting, texting back and forth because obviously we have a new single out. He's got a new single out. Go check out his single, Higher Power. I think it's an incredible song. I'm really stoked for some new Creed for him. I'm sure something's in the works. When we were on tour and we played Florida, we played Orlando. There were some rumblings back at that one on that tour because it was like, man, Scott's doing so good. We got to get this back together again. And so the seeds have been planted years ago, 2019, 2020, about this Creed reunion. And I've just been hoping and praying that there's going to be actual dates outside of that cruise ship thing that they're doing. But I think there's too much money on the table for there not to be at some point.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of money. I mean, I told Scott to his face back, after a shot, I said, you are what we need a rock. We need you. You're like, we've lost all the Scott Weilands. We've lost, who else have we lost in the last couple of years? I mean, all the big rock stars, Chris Cornell and
Chester Bennington.
Chester Bennington, we need Scott to stay strong and stay sober and be the best version to help save rock music, because, you know, I mean, he's the guy who can do it. If anybody can come in and do it, he's the guy that could do it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm definitely looking forward to that. I, you know, just for that personal, that memory he gave me over there, you know,
Awesome.
And, you know, hopefully, you know, maybe hopefully I'll be able to get him on here some point. And
I bet you can. It's not, you know what I mean? I bet you can. I guarantee you can. Ask Shauna. She'll make it happen.
All right. Yeah. Shauna, she's amazing. I love her. But speaking of good, like, rock songs, Shauna'd be mad at me if I didn't get to, you know, what we originally wanted. Yeah. You know, you guys talk about classics that have influenced, I'm sure, you know, a lot of us along the way. You guys just decided to take on Bryan Adams' classic "Cuts Like a Knife" out now. What kind of motivated that song for you guys?
Well, you know, I love like all the covers that like guys like Tommy Vex and a lot of bands have been doing, and it's so hard to pick a cover that hasn't already been done. All the good ones, you know, like, I wish we could have done that one, or wish we could have done that one, but it's so hard. But this one was just right in front of our face the whole time, and it just made sense. I mean, Knife is in our name, you know, it is the name of our band, and what better band to take a stab at a classic like Cuts Like a Knife than a band whose name literally is Knife. So outside of that, I always thought Derek's vocals had there was a Bryan Adams kind of Peter Cetera kind of quality to them that just harkened back to that era of the early, you know, mid 80s. And, you know, Bryan Adams is a tough song. Like, you know, it's not like an overly complex song, but it's the most well-written, well-arranged, you know, I mean, it's a classic hit for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, heck, Bryan Adams as a songwriter, I mean, he's written co-written 5 Kiss songs, something like that, 6, you know, 4 or 5, you know, so you don't realize how much of an influence Bryan Adams actually has had on rock until you start digging deeper and understand that it's more than just his music, you know, it's other music that he's co-written or written for other artists as well. But, you know, Cuts Like a Knife just happened to be the 40th anniversary of that album this year. And Bryan Adams just happened to be on tour. It's coming through my town here in Fort Worth. And every day on my way to my studio, I saw this big, giant, flashing billboard that would light up, you know, Bryan Adams, Bryan Adams, Bryan Adams. And I saw this sign every day. And I was like, man, it just hit me. You know, this is the song we got to do. And Bobby and I actually started, you know, we started doing all the scratches on it and getting it all kind of laid out. And, you know, Chad flew in from LA, and me and Bobby and Chad knocked that thing out. And it turned out to be a pretty darn good song for us, I think. I think it was the right choice.
Yeah. And I enjoyed the video too. And, I was reading that's what you directed that as well. You want to talk about getting behind that?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I've actually either, you know, storyboarded or co-directed almost every music video that we've done. This one I was a little bit more hands-on with, and I something I really enjoy doing. But you know, I like the idea of taking something that was just in here, you know, and then now it exists. It's real now. It's on the internet, you know, it's something that exists. And that process of, like, you know, creating that intellectual property, if you will, and seeing it come to life is it's very cool, because that video is exactly what I visualized in my head when Bobby and I were sitting in here. Like, just, I mean, up to the day we were shooting it, we were like, okay, we get this scene, we get this shot, we get this shot. And it's exactly shot for shot. It's so when I saw the video come back, when my Jeremy, who filmed it and edited it with me, when he brought me the first cut, it was like I'd seen it 100 times already. I've already seen this video, you know, because it's been just playing in my head. And that's how real it was. And honestly, Cuts Like a Knife, that's a heavy, you know, I mean, it's about getting your heart broken, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of our Messer songs have, you know, there's a lot of good heavy meaning and, you know, some powerful message. This one was just like, we just wanted to have it fun. This is a fun song. The na-nas, who doesn't love going, you know, singing na-nas, you know what I mean? So it was just about having a good time, but also paying our respects to Bryan Adams and to that time when music was just like good, you know what I mean? Music videos. Like I grew up watching MTV, and I could sit in one of those bars that play music videos. I could sit in that bar and watch music videos all day long. You know what I mean? Every now and then I run across one and I find myself going, oh, this is great. You know, that video had such a nostalgic feel to it. And, you know, we wanted to tip the hat to that. And also, like I said, pay our respects to a great songwriter, Bryan Adams, and of course Jim Valance, who co-wrote that song with him as well. Let's not leave him out. But yeah, and that was just a fun little studio we just happened to have across the street from my studios. This place called The Bolt, and it's one of those Instagram. You know, it's built just for that, to make videos and Instagram.
Yeah, I was going to ask you where that final scene was at, where everybody was, you know.
Yeah, that's just at the studio, and then. The house is just my house. That's just where I live. That's literally my house. Don't tell nobody. I guess we're telling everybody now. But that's just in front of my house, you know what I mean? Here in Fort Worth, where I live.
Yeah, I was watching that video, and it's just like, man, I've been talking, you know, helping a buddy of mine that's going through something similar right now, you know, with his gal, and I was like, I wonder if I should send him this.
I'll tell you what we could send him. We could send him a little Messer knife.
There you go.
You can even see that. It's got the Messer on there. There we go. That was just fun.
So you guys got your. Is that like your own brand, really, or no? That's just the name of
No. We you know, during the pandemic. Well, even before that, but you know, Derek was always he makes knives. You know, he got into like the Forged in Fire, and the guy, I can't remember the guy's name. He's actually a Messer fan. He messages him all the time because they talk knives making. But I never, you know, just I mean, it was such a, like I said, cuts like a knife. Messer means knife. It was all just too serendipitous, and all just made too much sense. And you know, no one's buying CDs anymore. But we've been selling a ton of these guys, so. You know, on the internet. So messerband.com.
So that was your last name in German means knife then.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Yeah, well, look at how that all worked out. It's just like the song was written for you before you even knew it. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I said. It was just too serendipitous to not do it. You know what I mean? It was right in front of us. It was right in front of us the whole time. So now here it is. So, and
then during the downtime to create extra income, you guys were selling those, huh?
Yeah, well, we're making them, and we're still doing it. It actually turned into a whole business called Two-Headed Dog Knives that Derek runs with his buddy Scott, and you know, they're actually hand forging, hand making, like some real. I don't have one in the room here to show you, but like a really nice custom knives, and we do sell some of those. You know, at messerband.com. They do like cool cutting boards and things like that. But it just made sense. And in this day and age, like I said, nobody's really buying music anymore. And we wanted to have something to commemorate the release of the song that wasn't just a T-shirt. So it just made sense. We're actually sending them out with apples. We actually take the knife and we have these apples that we've all autographed. This one's autographed by my daughter, but it's mine. And then we just shove them right in these little foam apples, and we ship them out just like that. And well, we wrap them up so they're safe. But so you can get that just like that from the video. So there you go.
Nice. Yeah. So that video's out now. Recommend everybody check it out on YouTube. Your YouTube channel is. Messer Band, or
I think we're everywhere pretty much at Messer Band. Messer rocks on the TikTok, so you know, I'm trying to get that, so go watch me. I'm doing TikTok dances, but yeah, Messer Band everywhere. There's also the behind the scenes, the making of that we did, which really was just kind of a follow up, more special message to Bryan Adams. That behind the scenes video kind of was really just for Bryan, but you can go watch it too right after you go watch the actual music video.
Nice. And then so like what kind of plans you guys got or goals you got now going forward, as you know things have gotten somewhat back to normal?
Well, we recently signed a new management deal with FM Music Management, who have like Testament, Saliva, Tommy Vex. There's a bunch of bands. I can't think of all of them, but we're Any Given Sin. They're on the management team. So we're really looking forward to next year getting out and touring with some of these bands. We do have more songs that are in the can, like they're done, you know, and so we have more stuff coming. We have another really incredible cover song that is a complete reimagining of itself. I'm not going to tease it any more than that because we're keeping this one really secret. But and then we have some more original Messer songs that we're real excited to get out. And I'm going to make some more music videos. I also just recently, Chad and I just remixed our entire back catalog in Dolby Atmos for a special Dolby Atmos spatial audio release of our entire back catalog for Apple Music and Amazon HD Music for audio files. And that, you know, I'd mentioned that I'm really into the frequencies and dialing that music in, and Atmos is a way to hear music in 3D in a way that, you know, if you haven't experienced Dolby Atmos yet through spatial audio on Apple Music, I highly recommend it. You're probably going, what does that even mean? But I promise you, a year from now, 2 years from now, that'll be everywhere you go. In every car you buy, every stereo you buy will be a Dolby Atmos. You'll see that logo.
Yeah.
You know, the giant dome in Las Vegas that they just built, that big sphere, I can't say it right, sphere that they just built, the LED sphere, that whole sphere is a Dolby Atmos music venue. It is the world's first ever purpose-built concert venue in Dolby Atmos, and U2 is going to perform the very first concert in Dolby Atmos there. And that's what all that is about. And basically just means you're going to, when you're listening to the music, you're going to feel like you're in the music.
Yeah. I had Marcos from POD on the show, and their new album's being recorded like that in Dolby Atmos. So he was sharing a lot about the same stuff you're saying. So definitely looking forward to. It's almost like going to the movie theater where you can hear the crickets in the background and all the, you know, stuff all over.
As a music maker, you can get real creative with it. You know, with some of the newer songs, you know, I mean, we may, you know, get creative with guitar solo stuff and really just kind of how we feel it. But right now it's really more about just making the listener feel immersed in the music. You know, again, it's just all around you. It's incredible. It's cool that POD's doing. We were actually the first band definitely the first band out of Texas to release anything in Dolby Atmos. I know for a fact no one's done that yet here. And so I like being first to market with stuff like that, you know. It's fun.
Yeah. Nice. And then, you know, we've gone over the 30 minutes, but if you have a little bit more time, I wanted to ask you some of the questions I normally ask
go for
guests that I have on. I mean, we've been talking about so many of the bands that you were exposed to coming up, but like today, who would you say are your top 3 musical artists?
Top 3 musical artists that are today. Well, that's a tough one but I'm just gonna shoot you straight. I fucking love Nickelback. Like, I look up to those guys and everything they do sonically, musically, songwriting. I love those guys. The Shinedown camp, I can't get enough of what those guys are doing. You know what I mean? Brent and Zach and Eric are just like I look forward to every new Shinedown song that ever, you know, comes out. Those two for sure. And you know, I'm also I'm really into Godsmack. I can't get enough of Godsmack either. So those are probably like 3 ones that I'm like really into right now. Ironically, you know, and those are all pretty mainstream radio rock bands, and you probably wanted to hear me say something pretty obscure, but you know, I think these guys are all doing stuff at the highest level right now. You know what I mean? It's like so good. I went to the new Metallica concert. That was incredible, you know.
Oh yeah, you just went to that?
Yeah, I just did. Yeah, last
Nice.
weekend. I went to the Pantera day. I didn't go the day after, but you know, I mean, it was a big deal for Pantera to play here at home in Arlington, and you know, there was a lot of politics behind the scenes of that whole thing that most people weren't really privy to understand what was going on. But yeah, there's a lot of, you know, insider politics at the Pantera camp always.
Yeah. I mean, I saw him here at Incarceration this year, and you know, it was good to hear the songs again. You know, it was good to hear the songs. I was sharing with a friend last night, I think too. It's like I had the pleasure, you know, Vinny and Dime were just one of a kind, man. They were just so personable, and I had the pleasure of hanging out with them a couple times before cell phones, before cameras, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have had like a handheld camera or something, but I regret never getting a picture. But
everything's on home video.
yeah. But you know, it was you know, a good, you know, good memories of those guys. And then you know, I got to talk a lot with Rita. She's been on the road, you know, with them and everything. So looking forward to catching it again. I think they're doing the music justice, you know. So
you know, Zach's doing a good job. I mean, I know we've toured with Zach as well, and you know, he's the right guy for that job because of, you know, it's Zach freaking Wild, but you know, he's putting his own spin on it, and that's cool. I think some more purists are like, he's missing notes here, he's missing notes there, but you know, I think it's really more about the celebration of the legacy of those songs more than anything else. And it was really cool to see a younger generation of young kids out there who are Pantera fans who are being brought to this concert maybe by their parents and going, you know, look at this, and see them just lose their mind to songs like, you know, Cowboys from Hell or Walk, or, you know, like I said, those songs are very powerful still. So
yeah, I agree. And then who are 3 people who've inspired you or you can credit for making you the person you are today?
Ooh, well, my best friend Chad, you know, a co-writer and producer, you know, he's helped me, you know, tremendously grow as not just a person, but as a musician, but more as a leader, you know, learning. It wasn't like I woke up one day and was like, I'm going to be a band leader and run a band. And, you know, it wasn't on my list of things to do. You know, I just wanted to play music, but I think, you know, he's super credited with helping me stay sane through all this process. So it's a big one. I'm only going to say it's because my daughter's sitting right here, but my daughter inspires me every day and helps me be a better person. She's always, you know, making sure I'm not offending people and not saying the wrong thing. But I learn a lot from her. I'm not afraid to learn. I bet. Yeah, I'm not afraid to learn from younger generations. I'm not that type of guy who's like, it's my way or the highway. I'm like, if you've got a better way, let me know. You know, I'm willing to learn. And you know, I have recently read Rick Rubin's book. You know, I've been a big fan of Rick Rubin and his philosophy of making music. So I've just gotten kind of more into philosophy of leadership and music making kind of through the pandemic. I was like, I need to embrace this and lean more into that aspect of my life. You know, because it's easy to build up resentment when you're, you know, if you're not careful. I don't want to be full of resentment and anger.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm a girl dad myself. I got 2 daughters, and you know,
you know the trouble.
yeah. But yeah, you know, it's like, you know, I had to relearn how to, you know, they taught me a lot about myself, you know.
Sure.
And I'm definitely grateful for them every day, try and be a better man than I was the day before, you know.
1000%.
Yeah. And then this one I like asking, takes everybody way back, but favorite toy as a child?
Oh man, okay. Favorite toy as a child. Well, I would probably have to say, you know, I mean, I grew up really before video games were really a thing, so it wasn't really video games. For me, it was like my BMX bike or my skateboard, you know. I mean, I grew up skating and riding BMX, so I was I'd probably just say my bicycle, because I was on my bike all the time. I was gone. I was, that story we sell our kids Saturday morning, bowl of cereal, out the door, not home until the street lights come on. That was definitely my childhood. We were down at the creek making dirt jumps, doing whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the good old days, man.
The good old days, as we like to say.
And then we've talked, we've mentioned the military and your involvement with the veterans organizations on here, but any message you have for our military members currently serving overseas?
Well, for one, I want to express my gratitude and appreciation for the sacrifices that are being made for our freedom. And, I do still have family that are still in active duty in the military. And, that's, like I said, something that's very close to my heart. My dad was a, Purple Heart recipient and a Vietnam veteran. And I never, I don't think it's in me to serve our country in that regard. And I have so much respect for those people who make that sacrifice, because without them, we couldn't be here doing this or anything. I couldn't be sitting in my fancy studio in Fort Worth making music all day long. So it's always on the back of my mind all the time. So I just want to say thank you. And I'm going to continue doing my best to make music that inspires positivity and love into the universe, and we'll keep doing that.
Nice. Yeah, I got a good friend that like I said, I was down there for a reunion earlier this summer, and a guy that became like a brother to me on my last deployment actually lives down there. So when I was coming to the reunion, he's like, don't even bother paying for the hotel room that everybody's staying at. You're staying with me at my house and my family. And, he works at the Dallas Fort Worth airport there.
Okay.
And stuff. But
nice. DFW. Nice.
Yeah. Good dude, man. He came up for my welcome home party, which was like all these bands when Peabody's was still open up here.
Nice.
All these bands played for me, and got him into so much music. He's from Puerto Rico, so it was funny getting him into like rock and metal and stuff like that. So
you have to turn him on to Messer.
Yeah, I will. That's what I'm saying, man. I'll try and get him connected with you guys.
Yeah, for sure. And also Operation Rock the Troops, which were based out of Dallas here as well too. So if there's any, we're always doing events locally with that, fundraisers, whatever we got to do to help supporting the troops through that organization. So
yeah, definitely. I'll get them connected. I sent you a message in the private chat, so hopefully we can connect down the line, talk about that Operation Rock the Troops and stuff like that.
For sure.
And then like you've mentioned it a few times, but if any of the audience out there is kind of new to hearing about Messer and wants to know more, support what you guys are doing, check out more stuff, where would you send them?
I would definitely send them to messerband.com. You're going to find all the links, all the videos, all the music, all the history, the pictures, everything at messerband.com. It's MESSERBAND.
Awesome. Maddox, man, thank you so much for your time, dude. It was really good talking to you. It's good to hear what you guys got going on, and yeah, hopefully we can continue this conversation going forward.
Yeah, anytime, man. We're gonna have some more music coming out, and you'll be on the list, and we'll connect outside of this thing as well. So, like I said, thank you so much for having us on and supporting what we do.
All right, man. Take care.
All right. Cheers.